welcome to our second ever attempt at We Have Interviews. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Stevie Wildcard.
And I'm Alexander James, and I'm lucky to be here.
We're doing this, guys. We're doing this, our second ever attempt. Alex, it is fantastic to have you. For those of you who don't know Alex, which is probably like one of you, like everyone in the whole world knows who Alex is. I know all of you are watching right now and you're like, that is the best Alex I know. He is the famous drunk scribe, as he's known.
Wait, you're talking about the Alex? Like the Alex?
The one?
So Alexander James. The way I know Alexander James most recently is he is the dungeon master in a D&D campaign that I've been thankful to be a part of. That's going to be a podcast releasing very soon called Critically Stupid. We're going to release that. We're going to be talking about that a little bit. But for now, awesome. Alex, this is all about you. We have so many questions for you. Steven, did you pull up the questions?
Oh, I have, of course.
Oh, Steven is...
Dude, I'm beyond prepared to, like, you messaged me on Twitter, like, are you ready? I'm like, I've been here, buddy. Been sitting at the Mac for
I live here.
And then, I got the questions. Boom, right there.
So, Alex, we're trying. This is only our second ever attempt at doing this with someone, right? But what I'm saying is, like, the first time failure. Just like we couldn't do it. We were like, we couldn't pull this off. Our guest, phenomenal, best guest. We dropped the ball is the thing. We were like, it was all on us for sure. He was amazing. If you watch it, it's a great interview on his part. My part, garbage, just pure trash.
He really filled in the voids that we just missed. You know,
like, oh yeah, wow. Like you'll love to see it.
I was like, I mean, he even made a joke at one point. He's like, when we get rid of Anthony, I got this. It's gonna be Steve and Steve. I was like,
yes,
and I was
Steve
like,
squared.
And Steve
we have an Alex situation.
And I agreed with him. Like I sided with him in that moment.
Damn.
So this time we're coming with the hard hitting questions. And we're gonna ask you some questions. So you're a writer, not just a writer. You're a seasoned writer who also happens to be agented, correct?
I am. Yeah.
All right. So we have and you're a seasoned D&D player and dungeon master, to my knowledge. So we have some.
This is also a fact.
We have some questions for you. Steven, would you please hit him with question the first?
Well, you kind of gave everyone just a little tidbit, but Alex, describe yourself to us. Like, who are you, Alex? And
I'm so sorry I interrupted.
No, you're good.
Never interrupt again, or this is like we said, perfection. Take two. We got this, Steven, from the top.
We're not editing it. It's going in.
It's pure. It's just the way it is. No, but we can just start. Yeah, Alex, describe yourself. Who are you to our lovely listening audience?
Dear We Have Issues audience, I am Alexander James, and I am a writer, a chef, a D&D player, a big-time nerd, and I'm just really excited to be here. And I love meeting new writers and people who play the same games or different games that I do, and I'm just, grateful in a word.
Awesome. So, like, what are you currently working on in terms of writing? What project-wise, what are you working on?
Ooh, this is a great question. So I am working on a couple things, as we all are. I am eagerly awaiting my first round dev edits from my editor at the publishing house that I am working with for my debut novel. I have several projects. Everybody has their own writing process. I personally write a book and then I stick it in a tank, unaltered, unedited, pure, like first draft, and I let it sit for anywhere from 4 to 9 months.
Wow.
And then I pull it out, and then I'll take a look at it and read it and edit. So I've got 3 books in that stage of awaiting editing. And
is it like a Stephen King size tank? Like, did you because he talks about that on writing, where he says specifically sit on the book for at least a month, come back.
I straight up stole it from On Writing.
Heck yeah, man.
That book verbatim.
That book is it's wonderful. It's honestly, I mean, I hate to say this, it's my favorite Stephen King book.
Wow.
Wow. It is. Wow. And not to throw shade at a freaking living legend. I'm just saying it was the book that it's full of inspiration. It's also touching. It's also personal, and it's one of those hey, here's a curtain. I'm gonna like show you this like wizard behind it, and that's me, and it's also him. It's like, so it all works together, and there's some horror in there and fun. But anyway, a lot of like awesome wisdom, like what you're dropping right now. So
yeah, no, I mean, on writing is incredible, and I had a similar experience with the first time I read it, because like I read it at a really crucial point in my process where like I had good ideas, but I lacked insight and you know, like those behind the curtain things that he showed us, and that comes with time. But anyway, what am I working on right now? I am working on a podcast actually with Anthony, a Dungeons and Dragons podcast we're playing based on a module written by Wizards of the Coast. It's like an official thing, but the current season that we're in is sort of like we've gone a little bit away from the physical pages, and now we're really like collaborating as a group and telling a story together. And I honestly think it's some of the best episodes we've done these last couple of weeks, and I'm really excited that everybody gets to see it soon. But that's what I got going on.
That's super awesome, by the way. That sounds like so cool. I've been like, just like Anthony said, I've been left out of the loop, obviously, because I wasn't invited. But like, I've been like really excited to check it out because I love a lot of people that are in that group, you know. So Katie's in it, right? I believe Diana.
Katie's in it. Diana's in
Yep.
it.
Gary and dude,
The other guy.
The other guy. Honestly, Gary is like standout hilarious. Like he's gonna be like the fan favorite for sure. I'm not positive. He has at least like one or two just like killer lines per episode that are just, I'm just like, yes, you did it. You made this entertaining. We got as a group.
This is now fun to watch.
We got the shot. We got the shot, like, everybody.
Yeah, but like, I feel like each character brings something to the table that's unique, like totally unique, you know, and that's and not just like, I don't want to be like, oh, I've never seen a Dungeons and Dragons game like this, but it's really interesting to have players of like across the spectrum of experience. So we have people who have never played the game before and people who have been playing the game for years, both kind of like treading that water together, and it's really interesting to watch.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of fun to be a part of, and I'm loving every second. I like from the very beginning, I wasn't sure if you were gonna let me in, so I was like, let me in, like, and like so like
let me in.
So I got to the point where I was like, he might actually kill me at some point. Like this might, like he might murder me. Like I think I made the joke in like episode 1 where I was like, I'm gonna play as a ghost. If you kill me, if you take me out, I'm a ghost. I'm haunting this.
That's right.
I'll affect nothing but the mood. Like I'll vibe it out just for the rest of the episode.
Just the ghost of vibes.
Like, I only roll ones, but it's fine. All right, it's supposed to be about you. What are we doing? Okay, so question the second. What was your first attempt at writing, and when did you discover Dungeons and Dragons? Like, first attempt at writing, and like, what got you into D&D in the first place? Like, let's, you know.
My first attempt at writing. Oof, okay. I wrote so I have, as all creative people, I'm convinced do, I have been doing this for far longer than I've been intentionally doing it. I have been writing my whole life in little weird spurts that never really fully formed as like, I want to be a writer, you know, like I played with Legos and made up weird James Bond stories with Lego like buildings, and it doesn't matter. The first time I sat down and thought I'm going to try and write something. It was a fantasy novel based on a Dungeons and Dragons campaign that I was playing with my friend, which echoes very eerily to my current day life. But I was like, I hand wrote that campaign from the ground up, and everything in it was like the world building. Like you've seen the fantasy novel classic, like world building stuff. And that was me. And I was like, this world is the literal chef's kiss gift to writing and the craft and fantasy, and I'm gonna immortalize it. And I wrote a novel that I think it clocked in at like 140,000 words. It was a fucking chonker, and it committed every single sin that a bad book can commit, including the first and cardinal sin, which was it was boring.
Yeah,
it was boring to read. And like Daniel at Don't Make It Weird, and actually like I told them about it, and he's obsessed with it and wants to read it, and he's constantly trying to get his hands on it and like making bets like, okay, if I win I get to read. And like more power to him, because like I've challenged him to find 4 consecutive pages that are intriguing. Like it's just It's not comically bad. It's just boring.
Boring.
And I encountered D&D for the first time when I was 6.5 years old. My father played second edition, no, 3.5 back then. He had a work group that came over to our house on Friday nights, and me and my brother were annoying enough to earn seats at the table, but we weren't old enough to understand the mechanics. We just liked eating honey mustard pretzel bits and rolling dice. So we would,
Sounds awesome.
we were Smash and Gronk, the Barbarian brothers, and we would just like roll in and like wreck shit and just like roll D20s until we got tired, and then we were put to
bed. All that kid luck.
First
I used
of all,
to roll dice with my dad.
Smash and Gronk, the D&D brothers, is the coolest sitcom I've ever heard of. Like, I'm imagining, okay, and like I'm imagining two brothers who their father goes missing somehow. They go looking among his stuff. They find like his old dice, and they're like, "This is mine. No, this is mine." And they're like fighting over his stuff.
Yeah.
Two D20 go rolling out. Boom. One lands on 15, one lands on 20. Gronk becomes the strongest unbreakable thing ever. He rolled the 20. The one who rolled the 15, Smash, a little bit weaker, but also a different kind of character.
But also burly.
Also burly as hell. So, and then they realize that every time they roll the dice, they become some version of that thing from that point on, and they have to go and find their father. Smash and Gronk.
I'm obsessed with this.
That sounds awesome. Like there's this giant monster and they roll and like they get like a 2 and a 1 and they're like worse than.
And then they turn around and run away.
Run away for sure. Yeah,
that village is fucked.
And they're out to find their father. That's what it is. They're gonna find their dad as Smash and Gronk, the characters that they always wanted to play as at the table with him. Sounds cool. So, anyway, sorry.
So random. I heard you say Wizards of the Coast. So Wizards of the Coast makes D&D or made D&D.
Makes D&D, yes.
See, I didn't know that. See, I never played D&D, but I was actually a really big Magic the Gathering player. Like,
they also own the rights to Magic.
Mm-hmm. So that's that name. Like, was like Wizards. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, D&D. It sounds like it's right. And Magic the Gathering, like you can tell everything's just pulled from D&D. Like ideas.
Well, they've got a lot of like very similar vibes.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So, all right, Steven, number 3 is yours.
Who or what has inspired you the most as a creator?
Ooh, that is an excellent question. As a writer, Stephen King is always kind of like the North Star. I mean, it's almost like trite at this point to be like, oh yeah, Stephen King, like he's everybody's North Star. I'm really inspired by Stephen Graham Jones, Paul Tremblay, CJ Tudor are all incredible writers in the horror verse. Keith Donahue wrote an incredible book called The Boy Who Draws Monsters. Let me say that again so that I make sure they get the title right, because that will be really embarrassing if I get it wrong. The Boy Who Drew Monsters, past tense.
Well, I mean, it feels like a spoiler alert to put in past tense title of book.
Right? Ooh, anyway.
You're just pushing for a sequel. It's all good.
Yeah. Hey, Keith, I know you're watching.
He currently, once again, draws monsters.
So, but as far as like inspiration for what I actively write, and this is actually a great question to turn around and ask you guys, because you're also like creators and you write incredible stories. I find that like inspiration comes in such minute quantities all the time. Like it's not, I don't dream about something, wake up and a book has fallen into my lap. It's like I'm riding on the subway and I look across from me and there's a person wearing an interesting pair of shoes. And like, that is enough to like start thinking about something which speaks to something. So like, how do you guys like find your groove?
It's very similar. Like, I mean, like what just happened, you just basically watched it happen with the Kronk and Smash, you know, like that's like, you say a thing and suddenly I make these associations. And it's like what Stephen King says on writing about finding a fossil, you know, he's like, it's very, it's similar. Like, whereas like, if you see a random person on the subway, it's like tripping over something and looking back and being like, what is that? And then you start uncovering it a little and you're like, okay, maybe that is something. But I think what happens to a lot of us, and like I know it's happened to me over time, like it happened with Deathless, where I have that initial fossil, but I'm like, I can't see it yet. I don't know what it is yet. and I need some experience, or I need to like stumble upon some association that kind of acts as like the catalyst tool to uncover the rest of it, you know? So I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know what this might look like, but I can't do it without breaking it yet. If I try too soon, I'll destroy the whole thing. I need to preserve it, and the only way to do that is to have this particular experience. So like that happened with Deathless so hard. Like I pitched ideas to Steven where I was like, it might be this, I can't see.
Yeah, Deathless was a lot of things.
Dude, I went through like 4 different renditions of it. Like, Steven's been doing that. Actually, Steven has his magnum opus that he's slowly uncovering through years. That's going to be the thing that, like when I die, everyone's going to look at this podcast like the biggest waste of Steven's time.
I don't write that much, but when I do write, one thing I
nail it. I fucking nail it.
Well, I had this inspiration. So, like, you know Pokemon fairly recently well?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of my favorites is Cubone because he wears his mother's skull. It's like this whole thing, you know?
Oh, it's tragic. It's actually like tragic.
So like just that Pokemon, like wearing his mom's skull, like I was just thinking about it. And like just that thought, like completely rolled this boulder to this like group of like a warrior group that like lives in the wastelands, and they have like this crazy like rite of passage, like when they're like as they're growing, that they have to like kill each other until they like hit 18, and then when they do, they kill their own father and wear his skull. So it's like this huge like patricide like ritual that they perform to become like the best of the best, and it all came from just Cubone and his mom's skull on his head.
The vibes of Mad Max meets Hunger Games are so choice, Stevie. I'm like, this is amazing.
Oh, but no. That's just like 1/5 of the Captain Planet of that world that he's building. Like,
yeah, it's just like this. It's just this world where basically it's like warring like clans, I guess. They all wear different masks. They all have different powers. The ones that I was just describing, they're like the Wrath clan, I think I called them, or something like that.
And they're this as if he doesn't have a dossier. This thing.
Well,
right.
This,
right.
I have like 3 or 4 like different.
I might have a solid language built.
I mean, I do have like the entire language structured, but no, like their power as a clan is. Most everyone else has like individual powers in their respective areas, but they have like a shared power wherever when there's less of them, they're stronger naturally. So they intentionally create these rituals to like thin the herd. So only the best.
That's part of their power, is that they aren't actually stronger as a group. They're stronger when they whittle their numbers.
But they obviously need the numbers to attack. But then when like in that battle, if some of them start dying, like energy comes out and like fortifies the remaining ones, basically. But yeah, it's just it's
all
a
right,
little
Steven,
pet project.
Enough about your genius idea. We get it. You're gonna take over the publishing world.
This podcast is now dedicated to this fucking fractured world of patriciding team.
I think Anthony decided on, was it just mass? I think is what we were gonna call it.
Yeah, so that's what we're gonna call it. So, dude, it's definitely gonna happen. It's
gotta be when we don't have jobs anymore. When we're actually just like,
I'm trying my best to find creators. I'm doing it.
Because most of the comics we try to write now are like Play It Again was a one shot. Deathless is going to be 4 or 5 issues. We're not trying to go into 100 issue. Like, we're not going to be like, hey, read our 100 issue run of comics because you've never heard of us before. It doesn't make any sense. So,
but that's honestly that's kind of my issue. Not my issue. I personally don't love serialized fiction, and I haven't for the last serialized fiction I read was, I think, like I was in maybe middle school. No, that's not true. I read the Dark Tower series actually quite recently, so I'm a big fat hypocrite. Thank you very much. But like, generally speaking, when I get overwhelmed by people's like novel series, because it seems like I can't turn around without seeing a trilogy or a 5-book series or an 8-book series, or this is book 1 of a 13-book series. And I'm like, I don't have 2 years to dedicate to your story. And that's no disrespect to you or your writing or your craft. I don't have that time.
Yeah,
makes
absolutely.
sense.
I did want to ask you. It's not on our list. I'm failing myself already, guys. I'm failing myself.
No. Off book is where we live.
But I do want to ask you, because like, it's impressive that you offer the writing community at large the ability to like send you something. You're like, I'll read it. If you send it to me, I'll read it. I don't know to what extent you read everyone's stuff or like how that works, but like, how do you make time for that while you're writing? When I know we're gonna talk about time management.
So I I read everything that people send to me, 100%. If you answer that call and I haven't read it, I'm telling you, listener, right now, get in touch with me and I will read it today and apologize. Because like when I was starting out, I had nobody to read my stuff and I had no feedback. And like, I would never, ever go back to that spot. So like I make it a priority to put that out there and like read people's stuff and give feedback, and it's all what they want, because like some people need harsh critiques. Like somebody needs the dead honest truth, like give it to me straight. And some people need to say like, hey, make me feel really good about this, because I don't, and I'm happy to do anything in the middle. How do I make time for it? I choose when I put that out there strategically. Yeah. It's always between projects when I'm bored of the video game that I'm playing.
That's smart.
This season of Apex Ranked is not very good. So
no, that's totally smart. But the time management thing goes into our next question, which is, what are your biggest issues with creating and publishing these days, and how do you make and find the time to write at all and do that? So
my current issue with publication, I think, is everybody's issue with publication. It is a very arduous, slow, and for the most part, opaque process.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It is maddening to have a book that I and my agent have worked on and polished and honed and strategized about and sent very intentionally to this person at this house, who the house represents these things, and this person dovetails into this thing that our book has, and then hear nothing for 6 months.
It's like such a calculated like move, and it just doesn't give you anything. It's just
exactly. It's like NASA shooting a rocket into space. Like they're not doing it 4 whiskeys deep on a Friday afternoon. Like this is the product of like months of, I mean, I'm not comparing myself to a NASA scientist. Let's slow your fucking roll there, Alex. But like it is
NASA scientists compare themselves to you, obviously.
Dr. James, will you please explain to us the publishing situation you're in right now?
But so like that's my current gripe, is like it's hard to just sit here and wait for my inbox to chime.
That's got to be rough. Like that's like Anthony and I do, like since we obviously are just going like the self-publishing route with our comics and stuff, we don't have to like feel that. But on the same token, man, like when that connection does happen and that does go off, like it's got to be the greatest feeling in the entire world.
The imposter syndrome that I have felt in my like occupy the space that my body is previously holding is insane. It's happened to me twice. Once when my agent offered to represent me, and once a few weeks ago when I sold my first novel. I fully felt like I was standing outside of myself, and like that there had been like an incalculable mistake.
I don't deserve this.
Truly,
I'm gonna head out.
Like I just told you about the first book that I wrote, which was like the most boring, dust-filled dog shit. And now I have a publishing house that's like, yeah, actually, we want to publish this thing that you wrote that started out as 17 words on a blank doc on my computer.
Oh, it's incredible, of course.
That's friggin' awesome, though. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like that feeling just has to be so insane. It's so crazy.
All right. We listen, Dr. James. We've said
DJ
enough.
DJ over here.
Yeah, Dr. J. I like Dr. J.
Dr. J. Dr. J sounds good.
Dr. J. We've spoken a lot about your publishing, a little bit about D&D. I know from because we talked about it previously on this interview that we're doing right now, that you love dragons. You love fantasy and dragons and all sorts of things.
Dragons.
We are going to do a segment with you called the Monster Test. Steven, will you hit me with that sweet monster test?
I always forget what it's the Monster Test. I don't know what the theme song was, but this is the theme song today because it's the Monster Test. Didn't rhyme. Is that good?
But perfect.
You need the rawr. This is Monster Test Dragon Edition featuring Alexander James, who's going to do most of the talking, because just like when you're asking about like space and NASA, you go to someone like Alex, right? Like when you're talking about like
with dragons.
God.
No. So wait. Alex is the DM, Dungeon Master, 4 years. I mean, I know he's a fantastic Dungeon Master, excellent storyteller, knows much more than I do about dragons, and I'd like to pick his brain a little bit. We have questions. First of all, what the heck is a dragon to begin with?
A dragon is a magical creature that lives for a very long time, that has power. My favorite thing about dragons is the way that dragons are intertwined with like human mythology. Every culture has its own.
Which is so
yes. it's so cool because like you can go like East Asia has incredibly intricate dragon lore, but their dragons are elongated and don't have wings, and they have these incredibly like ornate faces. And then you talk about like Western mythology dragons, and they're these monstrous quadrupeds with huge wings, and they live to be 1 billion years old. And then there's Celtic dragons. Like what a dragon looks like and is differs entirely on who you're talking to, and that's like it's incredible to me.
But what we're really talking about here is somewhat reptilian creatures that can ascend from the ground, just like ascend into space and disappear. Monsters, like they're aliens. It's just aliens. Every culture is just explaining aliens. Using, think about it. If you're not us, modern day, we're like, oh, we have ships of some sort we can look at. But if you were. If you're ancient cultures and you barely have seen a ship on sea, like at best, that's the height of your technology is,
And if you think about it, they would be spewing fire from one side at least,
That's what I'm saying. So what if there was a propulsion system spewing fire, and maybe they saw the creatures, and when they were trying to explain to people using whatever dialect or language that they had, at their disposal, they're like, it's a creature of this sort, and it flew, and it was like they couldn't necessarily separate the vessel from the creature.
Its skin was sleek, smooth,
now, here's the
like
thing.
a lizard.
I don't actually want to spend all this time talking about the fact that dragons are potentially aliens. I just wanted to throw that out there because I have a lot.
I just want to gently suggest that dragons may or may not be aliens.
May or may not. But okay. That is fascinating, though. Like, I love exactly what you said is incredible. Like, do you happen to have any kind of knowledge, I mean, true, or like, do you have anything that can account for that, them being spread across the globe in such a way?
Yeah, because it was before, like, trade routes, right? Like, that's the whole thing is, like, these cultures had these depictions of these serpents, like, before there was any connection. So, it is interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to be really careful how I tread here because I want to be super upfront and say that I have no stake in these different cultures that I am not a part of. So like any conjecture that I'm making right now is exactly that. It is conjecture. I think that there is something that captures every human's imagination about, because like if you think about it, like snakes and lizards, which are essentially like various forms of tiny dragons, like what if this tiny mostly harmless thing was actually like this incredible being of strength and grace and power? What would that look like? How would that impact us? And I love the different roles that dragons take, because obviously in Dungeons and Dragons, especially as a fantasy game, like dragons run the spectrum between good and evil, lawful and chaotic and everything. And several cultures view dragons as protectors, but others are like view them as world enders. Mm-hmm. And I think it's so fascinating that we have taken this tiny thing and been like, oh no, what if that ended the world?
That is incredible. Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating.
Deathwing from World of Warcraft, just
so okay. So there's something about like dragons always either hoard or devour gold in some way. They,
they also share half of their heart to an undeserving king. Okay,
every time.
What?
Sorry. It was only one who did that, and he was the last one, Steve.
He was the last one, and he was Sean Connery, and he was the best dragon I knew.
Oh my god.
Okay, wait. I'm just gonna put it like just for one second, guys. What I know of gold is that it is created in like an ultra
Meteors.
ridiculous amount of pressure, right? Like think about this for a second. It's like literal stars exploding is how a huge percentage of gold is created. Like the center of stars fusion, like boom, like explosion, just put around the universe, which means to some degree they are incredibly dense molecularly. There is a lot of energy within them, right? So what I'm saying is, what if there's an alien species out there who comes to Earth whose fuel source is gold based because they can harness the energy from the stars that the gold comes from. So they find a way to harness that energy via gold. Therefore, the dragons are known for hoarding and collecting gold because they needed it for the energy, because they're aliens, guys. They're aliens, is what I'm saying.
Damn it. How did I not see that coming back around?
I don't know what he's saying right now, but it's starting to make a lot of sense.
Somebody,
I'm sorry.
Somebody get NASA on the horn. We got to talk about this one with the big boys.
Dr. J's calling us? Okay, 1 second.
So, okay, but as far as like the gold obsession and like, or whatever their relationship is, I'm not really sure what that is, and that's why I'm asking you. So like, it's kind of like the monster test. Like, what is the relationship between dragons and gold, and why would that be? And is it explained in D&D versus other myths and legends that you know of?
Sure, yeah. So various dragons, as I just spoke about, like the spectrum of like dragon intelligence and lawfulness, they also vary pretty widely in terms of intelligence. The smartest being red and gold dragons on sort of opposite ends of the good and evil spectrum. Smarter than like wildly intelligent, beyond the bounds of just being a smart animal. We're talking like leaps and bounds ahead of like the smartest human, you know, because they also live for centuries. So they've got this incredible amount of like wisdom and store of knowledge built up. All of this to say, they know exactly the power that money buys. So much like my main man, Elon Musk, love you, Elon, hoarding money and not doing anything beneficial with it is a really relatable thing that I think a lot of us do.
I like that. I like that you low-key just like you just pointed out that you believe Elon Musk is a humanoid dragon.
So that's okay. So one of my favorite little dragon tidbits is that dragons who live long enough and get and amass enough knowledge, build up the ability to like cast spells and become wizards, and they can turn themselves into humans and walk around and exist.
When I think of like dragon, like in World of Warcraft, like all the dragon flights, they can all shift into like the different like, you know, races of World of Warcraft. Like they can shift into elves and things like that. So,
well, do you remember? I once did a Pitches Get Stitches on our show for Vampire, and it was about a dragon who learned that if he drank human blood, he can take on the form of humans. So he essentially was a vampire who lived for centuries, and then he got to the point where he was no longer willing to feed on the filth of, you know, so like he became a dragon again. Anyway,
incredible.
It's awesome.
But yeah, no, dude, that's amazing. Steven, do you have any questions about dragons? Because I have a bunch.
I just think like that whole thing about like, you know, like the wealthy become like the magic and they're actually dragons, like is like, if that was true and they were dragons, it would like lead just the too much credence to the whole alien, like the lizard people run the world. Like, I don't know, it's just funny to me. It'd be funny if it came full circle and gave them credit, like they really are dragons. You guys weren't wrong.
Yeah, like this episode is gonna make it like 15 minutes on air before like you get like a government shutdown and like both of your homes get knocked into.
It could happen.
We get the wrong people supporting us for no reason. No, we're not talking about lizard people. Listen,
I mean, we are.
We are, but not those.
Do you not want the lizard people?
Yeah, we want the lizard.
Like that is a passionate
Don't listen to him.
community.
He might be one of them. He's trying to hoard gold. I've been to his house. No. So okay, but Alex, so I do know. Just by reading some of the, you know, Monster Manual or Player's Handbook and such, like there are dragonborn characters in D&D.
Yeah.
I don't know about their origin though. I don't understand. Like, I just don't know how that happens. You know, like are those human dragon hybrids of some sort, or is that just a, like you said, like part of the spectrum of dragon? Or
essentially, yeah, they're a human dragon hybrid. In I want to say 4th edition, Dungeons and Dragons introduced in the core races a couple of non-human hybrids that were really interesting, because there was always elves and dwarves and halflings, all of the Lord of the Rings stuff that we all grew up with. But
Gollum
4th edition
should have just had the ring the whole time. I'm just gonna throw this gauntlet out there. Now, here's the thing:
we're pro Gollum on this podcast.
Okay,
That's the stance we're taking.
The stance I'm taking, real hard, real fast, right now. Hot take is that Gollum had the ring for hundreds of years and withstood that particular like he wanted it. He felt the temptation. He tried it on a few times. Hundreds of years he had it in this cave, and it wasn't until Bilbo came in and was like, oh, I want that there were any issues. Like no one, think about this. No one could find the ring. Like no one was hardly even looking for it at that point. He's like, but Gollum has it. Gollum has it. No one knew where he was. He somehow just cracked that case and was down there, got to enjoy it and everything.
So is Gollum a dragon confirmed, or is Bilbo a dragon confirmed? Who's stealing the gold ring?
Maybe they're both. Maybe they're both dragons somehow.
One of the rings is actually about warring dragon factions.
I mean, Gollum was obsessed enough. Gollum was obsessed enough that someone could just cut Bilbo and Frodo out of the picture, go to Gollum, be like, yo, there's another one of these rings at the bottom of that volcano. And he'd be like, oh, I'm in. Like, boom,
just leaps in.
First, like, swan dive, baby. Like,
I mean, he basically did that anyway.
Right? Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I do this for free.
For a living. All right. What was the question? What were we talking about?
We were talking about Dragonborn, and you were saying how, like, in the...
Yes. Okay. So, Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition introduced some really cool non-human hybrids, one of which was a tiefling and one of which was a dragonborn. And there's I'm going to say at this point, 50-50 shot that I'm going to get this right or wrong. So if I get it wrong, my name is Stevie Wildcard. So tieflings were sort of like really, really long descended humans with demon blood in them. And dragonborn were not as long, but a distant descendant of an actual dragon. The origins of which I will leave gently tucked into the mists of time, because there's some behind the bedroom door stuff there that I don't particularly feel like going into. But these dragonborn did have traits of their dragon ancestors. For example, if you were a blue or a blue dragonborn, you had an ability after you leveled up a little bit where you could breathe ice, and you had scales, and as you leveled up, you could, your scales maybe turn blue, and like there was all kinds of really cool flavor that you could add into this campaign, and also like just naturally like super strong and pretty smart, and like there was a really cool race that Wizards introduced in Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition, which is a shame because the actual mechanics of 4th edition were dog shit, and I will say that publicly.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. But okay, so Steven, I'll let you because you're a good judge. You're the best judge I know. You're fair, but you're kind, fair, and true is what I know of you. So what do you think about Alex? Did he pass the monster test? Does he know about dragons?
I feel like usually the monster test is administered to me, and like I flunk it. So I feel like Alex is like the first one that's actually like gonna leave this with a passing grade. So
yes,
oh, did it. All right,
very exciting.
I mean, I wouldn't have been as I would have said like solid B there, like just like
I'll take it. Honestly, I will take
B's
a
passing.
No,
that's right. B for beautiful, baby.
I think honestly that was one of my favorites. I've been wanting to go back to the monster test segment, but we haven't. But I was like, I don't want people to get sick of it, and there are only so many monsters that are used over time, like time and time again, So, but I think this was a good one. I hadn't even considered dragon, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm always thinking horror monsters.
I think horror more often, and you know what? Fantastic. You're amazing.
Cryptids come up like way more often, like the It clown or the like all that stuff, and those are all great. But like, yeah, whenever I think of monsters, I go straight to the Dungeons and Dragons monster manual, because like that's where I grew up.
Heck yeah.
And listen, it wasn't the greatest movie, but it did capture like the fear of what dragons could do, like Reign of Fire. Talk with Christian Bale.
That movie was so much fun, dude.
Honestly, an unacclaimed classic, I would say.
For sure, like
apocalyptic acclaim it deserves.
An apocalyptic dragon story. Like what?
Yeah. In the realm of dragon stories, that's tops. It's one of the best ones that exists. Like there are only...
and also you consider the combination of Christian Bale and Ewan McGregor. Like you would not get that. Like you look back, you're like, these people are incredible.
It's so good, dude. And the whole Star Wars thing, like the post-apocalyptic idea of retelling stories on stage from movies. Love that. That was like,
incredible.
Great. Okay, dude. So we have some questions from the colony, specifically from Daniel from the
Yep,
Weird
yep,
podcast.
all right. God.
So we just have a couple
man.
quick questions from him. Let's see. Daniel asks, as a DM, how does Alex handle it when the party doesn't do what they're supposed to do and they go off a little bit from, you know, what kind of the story you're preparing them?
How apropos. This, I know this question always feels like somebody's trying to get a glimpse behind the curtain, but I mean, like the honest answer is like, I never have a plan for you guys. Yeah. I have a series of story beats, both on a grand scale and on a minor scale. And however you guys finagle your way into those beats is entirely up to you. Yeah. The age-old example that Dungeon Master to Dungeon Master uses is like, what's the difference between, you know, what's behind door number 1 and door number 2? And the answer is it's the same room. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like, you know, if you guys go left down a hallway, it's not like I'm like, oh God, how do I get them to go right? I'm just going to change things, and it's down the hallway. Mm-hmm. But so honestly, like of course.
Can I ask just real quick? So, I mean, this is going to be, I mean, it's not really a spoiler for our show, but like, so there was a scene where, you know, there was the Beholder, Tim, we were going, and there was a gap where we could have gone, it was a split, right? We could have gone down into the sewer deeper, but we chose to keep going behind Tim. Would that have led to the same monster, like, ooze behind the, like, you know, the thing that we ended up coming into contact with? Or was there a secondary thing? I don't want to know what it is if there is a thing. I just want to know if it's a different thing.
There was a different thing down there.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. I don't want to spoil anything. Because I was like, when that happened, we had one of those moments, and I was like, I kind of want to see what's down there. But like, no
I do
one
remember
else
that happened, because like the whole party was like, let's go that way. But Anthony's character was like, well, now hang on a second.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm so interested because like when the DM paints a picture and it's like there's a dark corridor that falls down this way, I'm like, I want to throw a torch down there and figure this out. Like, I'm so interested.
Sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, it ended up being fun, like a fantastic, you know, like where we ended up was an excellent story. It was hilarious, and we ended up doing nothing. It was very funny. But anyway, it's like,
but that's where like the craft of like storytelling comes in, which is where we all do collaboratively. Is I had no idea when I presented you with that choice, what was down that dark thing. Yeah. And you know, like I have beats and I have ideas about like where you guys are progressing and what I can do. But like week to week, I'm trying to figure out what I can give you from where you've gone. Like, you know, like I'm not railroading you into this room or that room, whatever room you choose, we're going to get there together. Yeah. And like, it's great. And that's my favorite part of the show, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been noticing how you kind of like take various spices and you're starting to shake it up a bit to see like, you know, what'll happen. I'm like, I like that because I'm like, I haven't had time alone with this character, and it's cool. You know, I'm excited for that stuff because I'm like, we don't get like when you're a group, I get, and like we've talked about this like privately a bit, but like I feel like I don't ever want to like be like leading anything or be like, hey, you guys take back seat to what I'm doing. So you end up kind of like all being in this really amorphous blob together for a little bit until you are, you know, like attacked or something one by one. You get to make those little choices. But I want to have like some in-character conversations with characters that like I never have time with one-on-one, you know? So that's
100%.
That's interesting. Steven, will you ask the next question? It's from number 6. If
I got you. Oh wait,
is it this question?
It's not the fun one. Okay, I skipped ahead. Oh, you did ask. It's the next part. Okay, I was right. Alex, if you had to prepare a meal for a Gungan, let's say Jar Jar Binks,
sure,
what would it be?
Let me take a second. I'm going to take the presidential debate route on this and just talk directly to Daniel. So you guys may not know this. Daniel has beta read several of my books. He's an incredible beta reader. He's also obsessed with Jar Jar Binks. I don't really get the connection there, but like when he beta read one of my books, he sent me, apropos of nothing, no warning, no heads up, he sent me an entire chapter that he had rewritten from my book from Jar Jar Binks's perspective with an accent, with a whole like subplot of things that Jar Jar wanted. And I was literally like, I think I opened it at like 4 a.m. as I was waking up, and I thought I was still asleep because there's no way that actually happened in real life.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
All right, let's take it seriously here. What meal would I prepare for a Gungan? Gungans are
amphibious, I would think, right?
Amphibious, but they also eat meat, unless I'm mistaken.
No, I think they were like
fish.
Boss Nass is a big boy, so he's eating something.
But I feel like he took a bite of something and it wriggled away. Am I misimagining that?
It might be. He might have. I haven't seen episode 1 in a minute. So
okay, and let's say for the sake of argument that they're vegetarians, I would serve them. I'd probably go with like a mushroom dish because mushrooms work really, really well with wet environments. And I imagine the mushroom game on Naboo is pretty choice.
Oh, I bet.
So I'd go with like a mushroom risotto with like an exotic spice to really like bump it up a little bit.
It's awesome.
Fair.
I have a bonus question that I just thought of on the fly.
Go ahead.
Do it.
Dragon Ball Super, Lord Beerus, he's a god of destruction. He comes to destroy Earth, but he finds out that Earth has like really good food, and he just doesn't destroy Earth because it has great food. So you're the chef. You have to prepare the best Earth meal for this god of destruction so he doesn't destroy your planet. What are you preparing for him that you are certain will set his taste buds ablaze?
Are you asking me what meal I'm cooking to save the planet?
To save the god
the
Beerus
burger. It's meat on bun.
If it helps you, the god of destruction Beerus does appear like an Egyptian cat. Like it's like a very he's a cat man.
All right. My answer is not going to make a whole lot of sense, but I will stick with it because I'm Dr. James and I'm a man of my goddamn word. It is the apex of what a sandwich is capable of. It is the falafel sandwich. Specifically in a warm pita. Okay. You've got, I mean, just like ruminate with me on this a little bit. You've got the warm pita. You've got the herby, like crispy falafel. You've got fresh lettuce, cucumber, tomato. You've got a spicy chili sauce. You've got like a yogurt raita with like fresh herbs. It's refreshing and delicious and hot. And it's not too filling. And I would probably enjoy it very much while the world burned around me because it's not.
I think you'd sell it, man. I really do. I see the stuff he eats. I think that would do it, man.
What about you guys? That's a great question to turn around. What's your planet saving meal?
Planet saving meal. What do you got, Steven? Steven's a chef himself.
I've just started perfecting this, but I don't even know how to say it properly. I think I do, but
spaghetti.
A mac and cheese.
How you would, but is it birria tacos?
Birria tacos.
Birria tacos.
Yeah.
So, and then I upped my game. I was just buying the corn tortillas, but I've been slow cooking the meat, yada yada yada. But I actually upped my game and made fresh masa dough balls and like pushed them down and like fried them fresh and everything. Wow. And it was a game changer. Like the fresh tortillas was like everything it needed. So I think I would prepare those because I'm pretty close to perfecting at least how I make them.
I mean, your street corn's real good too. Dude.
I would put faith in that meal.
So
I would put faith in that. That's a really good choice. Anthony, what about you?
Oh no, I just doubled down with Steven. I'd make him do it and I'd put all the pressure on him and I'd help a little. And
then Mario and Luigi. We're just in the kitchen together.
I take all the credit. No, I would be like, Steven, how do I make this corn? He'd be like, I told you. And I'm just like, and then we'd all die because the corn would be just a little wrong.
A little
wrong. All right, let me see. So, okay, what's the most absurd, funniest piece of writing advice you've ever received?
Ooh. Well, the most absurd is not the funniest. The most absurd I've ever heard was somebody legitimately full seriousness told me, don't write if you're not inspired to do so.
Oof.
Which
terrible.
Sounds, it's absolutely banal. Like the idea that you should only create when you are inspired to do so means that I would write 6 words a year because I'm a fundamentally lazy human being.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I draw inspiration from the like there are plenty of times where I pick up my pad and I'm starting to draw a page or color a page, and I don't want to pick the pad up and do it. But then when I start doing it, that's like when the inspiration starts like pouring out of me. Like that's when I get excited.
Emotion situation creative.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a horrible piece of it.
Yeah, but dude, I feel exactly the same way. It's amazing that you get that and find that. Like I struggled with that a little bit as a like. I went through the whole like pretentious hero's journey of like I'm an artist, you know, and like all that. Like I had that when I was young, I was just like I'm a poet. I'm a real artist. You're posers, you know. Like I felt that, and then I was like. Then it was like, no, I gotta write. I have to actually do this. I can't just world build. I have to write. I'm not writing.
Right.
You know, like I have to actively do this. And then like I had a child, and I was just like, I have 30 minutes at best today. If I don't get my words out, I have nothing. I have no book. If I don't write, it doesn't happen. So I sat down, and I wrote that. Like I wrote my first novel, and I was just like, I got this. And I just like freaking like little by little. I did it during nap time when I could steal moments. And if you think that any parent is inspired to write after taking care of a baby, no, not even a little bit. I was just like, I'm tired. I want to nap when he naps. I can't. I'm gonna write this solo. And that's what So no, dude. So yeah, for sure. And like now I'm the same way. Now I can kind of like play on purpose. And now I'm like, I taught myself to kind of like, I condition myself to get the words done when I need to and sit down and do it, you know. And it's not always easy. It's not always genius, but it's like Stephen King says, where it's like later on, you don't even necessarily recognize the difference between your great inspired days and your non-inspired days when you're looking at the words themselves, you know?
Well, and also just adopting the attitude of like, you know, I feel like we all start out really precious with what we're creating. This is the book of my heart is a phrase that I literally cringe at sometimes. And, or like, you know, whatever I'm making, like this is this beautiful, perfect thing. But like, I find that the more I work and the more I put stuff out there, the easier it is for me to say like, oh no, this thing I wrote, like I finished a book in July, actually, not that long ago. It's bad. It's objectively not very good, but like, I'm not going to sulk about it or delete the drive. I'm going to go back to it in 8 months and make it better, because like, that's what we do. Like, it's not about the first draft. It's about the finished thing. And like, if you get discouraged, which I get, we all get discouraged. Like that's a perfectly natural part of all this. Like, don't give up. Like you can always make it better.
For sure. Yeah, dude. Steven, will you do number 7?
How can someone who has never written a book get to where you are? What are some good first steps?
Like physically, like they want to find you as a person.
So I'm thinking the answer is
my address is.
The answer is to write the most boring fantasy novel ever, obviously, because I mean it's definitely working for Dr. J. So
Dr. J. All right, so this question is shockingly easy for me to answer, because I keenly remember where I started. And like you start bad and alone, and you slowly fix those two things, you know, like you write. I started with short stories. Actually, before I wrote my first book, I was writing even worse short stories somehow. So I started with short stories because they were easy to write, and you do a little bit and you churn forward. And then I wrote something longer, and then I discovered the writing community on Twitter, and then I found people to read my stuff and give me feedback. And at first, like that first few months where people were reading my early stuff, back before I was even Alexander James, before I was the Drunk Scribe, they read Alex Noisa's stuff. And like, fuck that guy. Anyway,
that guy's a douche.
That guy sucks. So like I was really sensitive, and like I had some feedback that like I really overanalyzed and took too seriously, and I was precious about my books and all of these things that we've already talked about in this interview. And you just you have to push through it and keep writing and keep revising and keep inviting people in. And the more people you'll invite in, the sooner you'll find your people who are like, hey, this is good, or like this has a thing that can be excellent if we do X, Y, and Z. And you learn from them, and you're not pretentious, and you understand that every single one of us, regardless of if you're agented or doing indie publishing, or you have an 8-book deal with William Morrow or whatever the fuck, like we're all learning and getting better. And as soon as you just adopt the attitude of like a perpetual student, it'll come. It'll come.
Absolutely. Yeah, spoken like a true chef. You're just like, we need, let's take all these spices. You're this kind of chef. You do this. You clean the dishes. You're not ready.
You're not ready.
No, but absolutely. It's true though. Like, and I mean, we go through that all the time. I just pointed some stuff out to Steven about Play It Again, our first comic. And I was just like, I've learned so much about just like lettering comic books since then. And I was like, I see everything I did wrong, and I'm like, crap. But you know what? That's what it's about. It's like
it's the same with the drawings too. Like I look at some of the artwork and they're like, oh, you son of a bitch, past Steven.
Yeah.
How'd you put that oversized arm? The penguin fingers.
That's the beauty of it. Is like that's if you look back on your work and you are convinced that it's perfect, you have not evolved.
No, you haven't moved
and
forward
so like
at all, right?
the idea that you look back on your stuff and you're like, oh, I could have done this, or I could have made his arm a little bit less like Penguin. It means that you're better. And like I think that's rad.
Heck yeah. All right. So why the question that we only have basically 2 more questions for you. The most important one though is, why do you play that satanic game? And are you the Satan? What?
Thank you so much for asking. I've been waiting for this one. I do play the satanic game because I do worship our Lord Satan.
Knew it. Called it. Okay.
And I do wish the world to burn. And my little dice control the fates of all humanity. And I will conquer all of you and consume your souls.
Knew it. We were hoping that's what the case. We've always wanted a celebrity on. We've been trying to get Kevin Smith or one of those.
So you got the devil himself. So
we settled for the little
Kevin Smith, Satan, right there.
We almost got it. We're right there. I'm gonna tag him and be like, look, man, we got the devil. Like,
he literally got like the.
It's the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, dude. So. It's been fantastic. Talking to you has been a really wonderful interview. I'm pretty sure we're nailing it for number 2. I'm not editing this at all. I'm going to let you guys know.
In the can, cold as ice.
100%, dude. I just wanted, this has been wonderful. Where can people find you? What should we look forward to in the future? What do you have coming up?
The people can find me on Twitter at DrunkScribe. What you have to look forward to, I have a Dungeons and Dragons real play podcast called Critically Stupid, dropping Friday, September 2nd. My main man, Anthony, is actually starring in it. He's one of my incredible players. And I really hope you check it out. You can follow us on Twitter at CritStupid. We've got some really exciting stuff coming out in just a couple of days, and I really hope you check it out. It's going to give you like a little glimpse into our first season and some of the cool stuff that we got going on. And yeah, I'm really excited to finally be able to show it to the world.
Awesome, dude. It's been so great. It's been so great talking to you. Do I have your permission? I think I do, but do I have your permission to put the trailer for the Dungeons and Dragons podcast at the end of our episode this week, so people
yes, can get, absolutely.
Okay, cool. I figured that's what I'm just gonna throw it in. I might even put it in the middle. This is a story of friendship and magic, monsters and mayhem. A story in which 4 best friends search high and low for their other best friend, but not out of the goodness of their heart, but for money, but no, or possibly haunted houses. Whatever, we'll take whatever we can.
It's true. He really means anything. Coins, bills, a check is alright. We're really not picky. And we'll do anything for it too. We'll sit on bankers. We'll commune with the dead. Kill a guy. Nothing will stop us.
Okay, so consider that when he says kill a guy, maybe the guy deserved it. Technically, one of the guys I killed wasn't even a guy. It was more of a bird. I murdered a bird. Anyway, we would not even be in this mess if people just listened to me. Nobody listens. Nobody listens to me. And first we're fighting in a tavern, and now we own a haunted house because nobody listens to me.
Look, Mel, you want to know how to get people to listen to you? You lie. I mean, that's what I've been doing this whole time. It's like 90% how you say things, 10% what you actually say. So just here, let's do this exercise together. Breathe in. Center yourself. We can do what we've done from the very beginning. Lie your pants off. It's worked this far. I mean, I imagine it'll keep working. Right? Right?
I would love one of you four ding-dongs to explain to me how this has worked so far. I'd love to see the metric that we're measuring that success with, okay? Because by my count, it's gotten half the dock ward set on fire, it's gotten several people killed but definitely murdered, and it's gotten you all locked up by the city guard. So, like, I would love to just sort of see your math on how this has worked out for you so far. Because according to these dice that I got right here in front of me, it hasn't. It's not. It's actively not. In a world of misery and mayhem, mischief and misdeeds, one party stands to shield innocent folk from harm. One group who stand for truth, honor, and justice.
Infiltration, blackmail, get 1,000 gold pieces via blackmail, sell the information anyway and get them arrested.
A group of adventurers who desire a peaceful world, free from violence.
I feel a little bit bad. I shot him now. Only a little.
Who care for decency, discipline, and morality.
Drugs, drugs, drugs. Love
Drugs!
it. All day. Can't get enough of those drugs.
Welcome to Critically
Agree.
Stupid, where
It's a
we
great
love drugs. Have you tried them? Because if you haven't, you should. Who are polite, kind, and understanding.
All I'm saying is if y'all did your job, that you would have noticed that 6-foot bird man run up out of here right past you just conveniently.
Led by a dungeon master whose competency is only matched by his patience. Thank you all for being here. Before I burn this place to the ground.
Hey, I'm Katie and I play Cerulean.
Hi, my name is Diana, and I play Mel.
Hi, my name is Garion, and I play Gareth.
Hi, my name is Anthony, and I play Arnold.
My name's Alex, and I'm the DM.
You're parading around with your youth.
How
Oh, yeah.
Dirty.
Must be nice to be young enough to parade.
Blackmail is cool!
And
Hey Siri, what does derelict mean?
Arnold, will you please take the middle finger room?
Katie,
My
that's
murdering saved your life, so it was kind of cool.
That means it was self-defense.
I'm not cutting it. You can't make me.
So people are like, "Oh, what is this?"
Oh my god! What? This is such a difference in tone.
It's like over like my it's over like my whole writing thing that I was talking.
Oh my
about.
god! Fucking imagine. But like you keep like you start the bit and then you just mute Steven's
Yeah,
audio.
you just see me talking in the background like.
Oh man! All right, Alex, it's been fantastic talking to you.
Guys, thank you so much. This has been incredible.
Of course, dude. Hope you have a great night. Thank you so much, and I will see you in D&D. You know, on Sunday.
See you in 6 days.
In 6 days. All right, dude.
All right.
Have a good one.
Bye,
Take care,
guys.
man. There he is.
Guys.
Hey,
What
Alex.
is up?
What's up? Sorry, that's my wife's Zoom because I'm a grown boy.
You both have the name Alex. I like that.
Fuck. Yeah, my wife's name is Alex. We go by A squared. We're adorable.
That's awesome.
That is pretty
It sucks.
adorable.
Fuck, I dropped my light bar. Hang on. This is the greatest time I've ever had. Yes, we are both Alex. I have not said my own name while talking with her in what feels like forever.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, you're a writer, so you like. Do you get you do the thing where you're like, well, if I'm doing this realistically, this couple has been together long enough to literally never mention one another's names, but now I have to introduce them to people. So how do I make this happen? And it's like, oh, I guess they go to Starbucks. You know, like.
You know what's funny is I have written about a couple once. Like there are things that we all like. There are like commonalities that we all write that we find ourselves like comfortable in, and like one of the ones that I don't find myself comfortable in is romance and relationships, because like I think it's because I'm in like a very happy
I
monogamous
was like, I
relationship.
nailed it, and I don't want to ruin it by fictionalizing anything.
or just like it's boring, not like just to me personally.
Well, I mean, also, I mean, if you can't, don't fix what's not broken. Like you don't want to write something and then have your wife be like, "So, are you trying to work out some unresolved issues between us that you have not brought up?" You know?
I see what you were. I see what you put in the book.
it's like Cliff here seems to have a problem that you had when we went out to grocery store last week, and
the only time I like writing about relationships is I really do enjoy writing about relationships breaking and like the crumbling between two people. I write horror novels, like this is sort of like where I hang out. But the very, very first one that I wrote was based on a pair of close friends that Alex and I had. And I wrote it too close to the real humans, to the point where like my wife read the first draft and was like, you have to change some of this. Like you're just airing our friends' dirty laundry.
His name isn't Matthew, it's Batthew. It's completely different person, different human altogether, not even close.
Matthew and Hennifer. It's totally good.
All right. So before we get started, I was gonna just do like a comic conjectures like what do you call it, segment with you, but since you like horror and stuff, are there any like monsters or creatures that like you really dig that you'd want to talk about instead? Because we can totally do that.
In which, like, the world of monsters is huge.
The world, like, literally, like, all I'm talking about is, like, if you're like, hey, I dig aliens. I'm thinking about aliens right now. I'd just be like, hey, what do you think might happen? What's the most fun, like, avenues that haven't been explored a lot? / like, what are some tropes that you're kind of sick of in that genre?
Like, when we did werewolves too, like, we basically, Anthony and I have found out between each other, like, our different beliefs in the mythos, like what kills what. Like, vampires, for example, sometimes silver does it, sometimes it doesn't. Like,
sometimes it's just decapitation, sometimes it depends on like whatever whatever
so
way
it's nice
your
to like
monster
figure out
crumbles.
how people see that monster. Like, everyone sees the monster and their myths behind them different, so
I love it. Okay, I'm gonna go with a really, really obvious one, and I sincerely apologize for my lack of originality, but I have been unsurprisingly, I think, obsessed with dragons since I was
Dude,
like
I love
5 years old.
It totally works for this
solid start.
Solid, because like I'm sure you can school us on like some dragon knowledge that I'm so interested in this, by the way. Okay, cool. So we'll do dragons. We're gonna call it we just call it the monster test.
Monster test,
Monster test fantasy dragon edition. Okay, so we'll get to that later. For now, let's just do a quick introduction. I'm just gonna do the hello, Anthony, Steven, and then you can say I'm Alex, and we'll get into it.
Okay,
all right.
Cool.
All right. Here, I'm gonna pull up. Yeah.
Also, Stevie, hi. It's lovely to meet you in person.
Yeah.
I was really looking, like, I hang out with Anthony every week, but like I'm really excited to meet you.
Awesome, man. It's awesome to like meet with you too. I've been watching, of course, Don't Make It Weird and everything, every episode you've ever been on.
I talked to him about the D&D, and I just to remind him that he can't.
That was legit when Anthony wanted to be on the show. I was like, how does Stevie feel about this? Like,
I'm just saying, you could have had like a Tenacious D Bard situation, but instead you got
like, I would love that. Maybe in season 3 we start guest stars.
I could have
that would be awesome.
I find a ukulele that has a mouth instead of a hole, and it's Steven's voice. That
would be awesome. I just come in and sing songs for you. I don't have a character.
Incredible.
I'm the guitar opening.
Yes. All right, ready?